One of the things that I cover at every single one of these events is the difference between what some of you think is a personal brand and what is actually a personal brand. And I switched this up a little bit today because my good friend over here, Lauren Bain, sent me a video that she saw from someone that we know in common. And she said, "Do you think this is true?" And I won't say who shared the video, I'll just tell you what the video said. And the video said that I am moving away from a personal brand in order to build my company's brand. And I just thought for myself, you have no idea what is a personal brand if you think you can move away from it, right? And the idea that you would say, I'm going to move away from personal brand to build a company brand is actually the antithesis of what we're trying to do here, right? And so I thought this was a really important conversation, and I say this at every one of these events, and the reason I say it is because we forget. When we get back to reality and we go back home and it's about leads and revenue and bills and emails and work, we forget what it's really about because we get stuck in the day-to-day. You guys with me on that? So I'm going to start with what it's not. And I think this is really important. It is not a company. It is not a company. A personal brand is not a company. Number two, it is not a business model, a product, or a service offering. That is not a personal brand. So when people say, oh, I'm just not going to build my brand anymore, that's actually inaccurate. Like, you already have it. It's with you regardless if you choose to build it or not. You already possess it. The idea of building a personal brand is saying I'm intentionally curating something that I believe in, that I want to be known for. But the idea that it just goes away, that's not how it works, right? And the idea that personal branding is new is also false. Personal branding is not new. The term personal branding might be new, but the concept is not new. I remember in 1988, when I was 5, 6 years old, watching Pepsi commercials with Michael Jackson, right? First influencer marketing, right there, right? And I remember then a couple of years later, maybe like 10 years later, when Britney Spears was doing all that, y'all, like, there's a whole idea that influencer marketing and personal branding is new is false. That's not true, right? That's not it at all. And so the idea that somehow this is just a recent trend or a fad that's going to fade is false. And we have scientific data to prove that. It is also not a set of content ideas or thoughts. It is not one singular piece of content that you create and then you go, oh, well, I already did that. Now I have to build something new. That's also how it works, right? It's not a fad, it's not short term, and it's not temporary. That is not what a personal brand is. And most importantly, a personal brand is not what you do. And when I watched this video, and I watched it probably like 5 times in a row to make sure I didn't mishear this information, and I'm like, wow, like, this is really gone right over. Because the whole idea that a personal brand is what you do is not it at all. In fact, what a personal brand really is who you are. It's the emergence of tapping in to your purpose. It's the consolidation of all of your life's experiences and all of your expertise. It's the combination of what God has put you on this earth to do, regardless of what your religious beliefs are. It's like all human beings and animals alike need meaning in life, right? I read this article by Viktor Frankl that was published years ago about the meaning of life is critical to every mammal. And it doesn't matter if you are a beaver, where your life's meaning is to build dams or squirrels collecting food for the winter. It's like there is purpose and meaning in that work. And when you find it, you thrive. But it is needed, it is necessary for both survival and for thriving. And I shared this at the last event, and it's one of my favorite quotes now, and it said, if you have been able to find your life's meaning, consider it one of the biggest blessings in the world. And if you have the resources to actually do something about it, you are one of the very few. And that gives you a great responsibility to do something about it. You know? It's like there are so many people that are going, I'm trying to figure out my purpose. How many people do you know who have said the words, I'm trying to find my purpose? Raise your hand. That is a very common thing. And if you're here, that means you have an idea of what yours is. That is an unbelievable blessing. And if you are here, that means you actually have resources to do something about it, which means there is a great responsibility to act on it, right? And I think that's really important in all this. Now, what our formal definition of a personal brand is the formalization, organization, and the digitization of your reputation. And it's this word right here, reputation, that is most significant, because it does not matter if it was, beginning of time to now. The concept of reputation has always, is, and will always be a part of our lives. Would you agree with that? Yes. Like, that is not new. The only thing that is new is the formalization, monetization, and digitization of what we want to be known for, and that really came with the emergence of television, media, and most recently, social media. Each of us have our own ability to be our own media company. That is still relatively new in the scheme of things. You guys with me on this? The idea that you can go online right now and post anything you want and have people see it is still relatively new in the scheme of things. But that also gives you a great opportunity to leverage what you want to be known for in reaching people that you relate to and that they relate to you, right? But the idea of reputation is not new. Our ability to do something about it is the concept of personal branding, okay? Now, this is how I kind of want to leave this little section, is that a personal brand is simply what people think about when they think of you. And the difference of those who have a personal brand and those who don't is this right here. So I'm going to ask you two quick questions. What do you think people think about when they think of you? I want you to write it down. Write down one word. Not what you want it to be, but what do they actually think based on where you spend your time, what you talk about, what you do, what you read, what you research, what you listen to, where you hang out, where you go, where you spend your money, what your calendar looks like. What do people think of when they think of you? Write down. Now here's the next question. Is that what you want them to think of when they think of you? And when those two things align, what they think of and what you want them to think of, you have created an established personal brand. And when they don't align, we have work to do. It's the difference between, am I consciously and intentionally creating a reputation that is in alignment with what I want to be known for or not? It has nothing to do about a company, and you cannot move away from it. It's who you are. It is not what you do, right? And I think that is a really important concept today, because most of the presentations today and most of the panel questions at some point will have something to do with, how do I grow my business? How do I generate more leads? Where do I find more clients? What does my business model look like? What does my offer structure look like? What should I charge? How do I get on more stages? I know right now that is what most of them will be. And I want to encourage you. Those are important, and we're going to talk about them. I'm not saying they're not, but that is not what your personal brand is. Those things are the business components, the byproduct of figuring out why you're here, who needs you, and how can you best serve them. And when you figure that out, money flows as a byproduct. And the tactical parts of how to grow that, we can talk about. But you got to know that first part first. I think when we talk about personal branding, that it really matters for us to understand it's not just how do we build it, and if we have one, it's why it matters. Okay? So I'm going to talk about 3 reasons why building a personal brand matters. Number 1, we believe, statistically proven that it is the future of doing business. Now, there's a few things that I think are really important around this. Number one, it's your unique filter and perspective that differentiates you from AI. When everything, you know, and it was interesting because we have some AI experts in the room, and at the end of the day, AI will replace most of what we do today. The only thing that it cannot replace is you, your perspective, your filter, your view. It can't replace that. And when everything else can be automated with AI and can be AI generated, where the uniqueness is going to lie is your specific twist on it. And people are going to come to you for your perspective. You guys with me on that? Having a personal brand is going to be what differentiates you when AI starts to seep into every single part of what we do. And that will happen. It is happening now. Second thing, it's your unique gifts and personality that differentiates you from competitors. Right? When you are in commoditized industries, i.e. all professional services, why buy real estate from you versus you? Why get my insurance from you versus you? Why, I could go on and on and on. Why? Why am I going to go to your Pilates class versus your Pilates class? Why hire your fashion styling services versus yours? The only thing that is different is because I want it from you. I can get it elsewhere, but I choose not to. Why? I like you. I resonate with you. It's your vibe, your energy, your personality, your perspective, your take. It's you. That is you building an intentional, proactive personal brand that people can say that I relate to. I want more of that. When they can buy it from anyone, why do they buy it from you? And that's because of your personality, your perspective, i.e. your uniqueness. It is the future. In fact, Gary Vee, Rory was speaking on stage with Gary Vee just last week, and Gary...
He was speaking on stage with me.
and Gary Vee had a lot to say.
I'm going by Rory.
But he had a lot to say about the impact, the importance, the necessity of building your personal brand if you want to make it in the growing world of AI and technology. And I think that one of the things that we have to look at are not just the trends and insights, but we also have to look at the forthcoming generations, right? And I thought this was really interesting. This is from our Trends in Personal Brand study. It was the first national research study on the trends in personal branding. And this is what Gen Z said. They said that the forthcoming generation of leaders and trendsetters with the largest spending power, just pause, the largest spending power for the next 30 years do not consider personal branding a game of vanity or popularity, but more of a critical and essential component of work, learning, and trust that influences their everyday life. That is worth taking into consideration of not just today, but the next 30 years with the emerging Gen Z into the workforce. You guys with me there? Like, these are not just things that are going to fade. Number two, why it matters. It's actually highly profitable. It is actually highly profitable. In fact, this is from our study, and this QR code, if you have not read our study, I would encourage you to snap that QR code and download the study, right? It was a nationwide research study, so just snap it, download it, and you'll get the entire study. But 58%, that's more than half of all Americans, said that they would be willing to pay, not just pay, but pay more money to receive their services from a professional who does not work at a company, but instead has an established personal brand. In other words, the trend is not going back to corporate brands and companies. That is not true. They're going, I don't trust companies, I trust people. Because the truth is, you can't trust a company. You can only trust the people in the company. You cannot interview a company. You can only interview the people in the company. You do not hire companies to speak. You hire people from companies to speak. This is a people business. So the idea that we would be going back to a corporate entity is not true or accurate. 67% of Americans said they would be willing to spend more money with you if you had an established personal brand. In other words, they can know you, like you, and trust you. That's what they're saying, right? But a third of all, or 2/3 of all Americans are saying they would spend more money on products or services that came from the people that they self-identified with, that they related to, that they shared common values and beliefs with. How do they know that? Because you talk about them. That's how. People cannot do business with people they don't know. So it is your job, is your business to help people get to know you. And in a culture of cancel, that can seem risky. But the payoff is so much bigger. The payoff is worth the risk. Number 3, why it matters. It's a trust accelerator. And to me, this is the most important part of why building a personal brand matters to each of us, is it accelerates the trust process. Having someone get to know you before they ever meet you allows them to make business decisions faster, financial decisions faster. 74% of Americans said they are more likely to trust someone that has a personal brand. Why? Because they feel like they know you. You're more likely to trust a friend than a stranger in most cases, yes? Why? Because you know them. Because you know them. That's it. And I will tell you that most of you, like if you had to have heart surgery, you're not going to the Google and typing in best heart surgeon in Nashville, Tennessee. You're not doing that. What are you doing? Calling me, yeah? Right, you're asking a friend that you trust, right? If I was like looking for a new hairstylist, I'm not typing in best hairstylist, Nashville, Tennessee. I'm calling up my girlfriend who has the best hair going, girl, who does your hair? I need a new woman. I need a new gal, right? That's what I'm doing. I'm not making business decisions off of random things that I find on the internet, regardless of what we hear and read. Business still happens today because I go to trusted resources that I know, like, and follow to filter through my decision-making process. We all do that every single day. That is, in essence, what we're talking about in trust acceleration. 82% of Americans agree that companies are more influential if the founder or executives have a personal brand that they know, trust, and follow. In other words, companies follow people. Company brands follow personal brands. Now, my kids are really into soccer right now, and specifically Inter Miami and Leo Messi. And so we've done a lot of research on Lionel Messi over the last 2 years with his emergence into the MLS. And I think one of the things was most fascinating is this is very similar to what Michael Jordan did for Nike and basketball. But one human being, one soccer player, is single-handedly transforming an entire sport across an entire country. Think about that for a second. Like, it is unbelievable. It is unprecedented that one individual would take a percentage off of the entire MLS. Like, y'all, this is unprecedented. It's unfounded. Why? Because they know that his fans follow him. That's why they took a bet on him. That's why they gave him the deals that he did, because they know the fans follow him. We got to build the same kind of fans. We got to build the same kind of fans. And this is what Gary Vee said. He said, sales is for people who can't build a brand. Now, there's a part of that is anti what we believe, because we're salespeople at heart. But here's what I would say. Imagine if you can sell and have a brand, right? But I think that this is like sales is forced when you don't have the ability to build a brand. Personal brands matter. Serving your people matter. Figuring out what you have to say matters. And I know you know that because it's why you're here. And I don't want you to forget that in the midst of all the business talk we do today, talking about websites and copy and funnels and leads and prospecting. I don't want you to forget that in the midst of all of this. Okay? Now, there's a couple of other quick things, and we're going to move on. I just thought this was one really important stat because we talk a lot about it when it comes to business and lead generation. But this is equally as important for company, employee recruiting, and retention. And if you have a team, even if it's a team of one, this actually personal branding thing matters just as much as you as an entrepreneur, as an employer, as it does for the lead generation side of your business. This whole idea of personal branding is not siloed to building followers, building an audience, and building business. It is equally as important and justified for also the ability for you to recruit, hire, and retain employees. Right? So this is not just for lead gen. This is actually for going, I want to build a team of people that feel more like family than they do colleagues. I want to build a team of people who are aligned on mission, values, and mission, where it feels like we're all doing something for the greater good and no one works for anyone, but everyone works with everyone. And personal branding helps you do that too. So it's not just on the lead and revenue generating side, it's on the recruiting and retention side as well. And the gist of all of this is that building a business is just not nearly as important as building your reputation. Your reputation far transcends the business that you're in today. You may have a completely different business model 1 year, 5 years, or 10 years from now. Your reputation doesn't go away with that. Your personal brand doesn't disappear with that. It comes with you. So it's worth investing in. It's worth spending time on.